This is a new tale of the goddess. The raging torrent of this world is unending. The villages, like a breath drawn in, like a silk thread pulled taut, live their pitiful lives not knowing when they will be cut. Yet, if I believe in the great mountain goddess and devote myself unto her, the villagers shall have peace and prosperity once more.
Hello everyone, RFG here with the review for Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess, an action strategy game with a good amount of tower defense mixed in. Developed and published by Capcom, it was released for PC, PS4, 5, Xbox One, and Series XS consoles. While Capcom is no stranger to action games, its combination of strategy, tower defense, and overall polish led to a very charming experience. You control So, and help guide the maiden Yoshiro to purify the villages of Mount Kafuku during the day, then guard your Shiro and fight against the Seed, spirits spreading defilement across the mountain at night. The defilement has spread so far due to the theft of the mountain goddess's masks. These masks hold the goddess's power, and while your main goal is to purify the mountain by sealing the Seed at Torii gates, the masks themselves play a pretty large role in Kunitsu-Gami. Before I get into that, I'll go into how the basic gameplay works. The game is divided into levels, and each level has a day and night cycle. During the day, most of So's functions are relatively simple. So can explore the level maps to dispel large concentrations of defilement. Expelling these will earn you crystals, and dispelling all in each area leads to rewards from way shrines. So can also use sword attacks to break pots for items and purge animals from defilement. Jumping ledges and wall jumping serve as simple shortcuts. Shortly into the game, you'll meet an NPC who'll set traps against the Seed or build structures to assist So in protecting Yoshiro. Your main focus during the day will be to rescue villagers and to carve a path forward to Torii gates for Yoshiro. Paths to Torii gates are predetermined by level. Occasionally you'll have branching paths, but they'll lead to the same destination. This may sound simple, but carving the path costs crystals, and Yoshiro can only move forward, and only during the day. These aren't issues on their own since there are no Seed attacks during this time, but become a large obstacle to overcome at night. So has a health bar, but if that goes down to 0, you'll be put into the spirit state, where you'll have to wait out a timer before you're back in physical form. If Yoshiro's health reaches 0 though, it's game over for you. Yes, So has a set of abilities that can assist in playing a guardian role, which I'll get into later, and there are traps, and certain parts of a map can have Yoshiro use a barrier, but with the waves of Seed that attack during the nighttime sections of a level, that's a lot to defend against. This is how masks and rescuing villagers tie in. Purifying and recruiting villagers during the day, then assigning them roles through masks for defense at night, is a key part in protecting Yoshiro from Seed attacks. Each mask gives a different role to a villager, and the dedicated command screen for villager orders does a good job of keeping the information needed to decide what role you prefer for a unit relatively simple. Each mask or role costs a certain amount of crystals to assign, and defeated Seed enemies will drop more crystals for use. Some roles may only be given to one of the two types of villagers. Even though you start with only the melee attacking woodcutter, you'll quickly unlock the long range attacking archer, and start to unlock masks with different purposes like healing or slowing down enemies. Masks can also be upgraded after acquiring Musubi, which can be earned in several ways, and upgrades will mostly have different effects depending on the unit type. You can refund upgrades from Musubi if you want to focus on a specific mask. Some roles have abilities that can only be used in the day, but all roles can serve some purpose during that time frame depending on the level. The roles you give the villagers and the initial positioning you order them to guard can lead to a great start. But in later levels, you'll most likely need to reposition your units, and the command screen still manages to keep this simple. Simply bring up the menu, scroll to the desired unit, and select where you want them to go. It's simple, but I'll admit it's not perfect. While using the command screen, the camera is locked to So's position, so you have to use a combination of the minimap and camera controls to get a precise grasp on which unit you want to move. The range a unit can move within is also determined by So's position. I found this more annoying in the daytime than at night, since your time in the day needs to be balanced for exploring and setting up defense, and at night there's not many reasons to explore. While the level designs are small-ish, there's a decent amount of exploration involved. Unpurified villagers and concentrations of defilement can be pretty well hidden, which can take daytime to explore. The NPC who assists So with setting up traps and defense can only work on one project at a time, and he can't queue more projects in advance. Finding a blocked up area or hidden object can also lose you time if your villagers aren't nearby. Fortunately, a lot of exploration can be worth it. Exploring the levels can not only find you bonus crystals to be used for carving Yoshiro's path and for assigning masks, or Musubi for mask upgrades, but also equipment for So. Most of the equipment focuses on So's combat abilities, so I'll start with those basics. So has 2 buttons for 2 types of attacks, a basic attack which can form a string or use in the air, and a dance attack which serves multiple uses depending on when it's used. So also has a dodge, guard, and the command screen to work with. Most of the equipment will provide some benefit to So's stats, but another set of equipment called super guards can add abilities for So. Progressing further in the game will eventually unlock the ability to let you upgrade So in the same manner as the masks, including being able to refund spent Musubi for other upgrades instead. There's a large number of things to unlock and ways to unlock them, and they're mostly tied to levels and completion goals. Besides the standard completion of levels by guiding Yoshiro to a Torii E gate or defeating a boss, each level also has a set of 3 of their own bonus goals that rewards you. These level goals, like the levels themselves, can vary greatly. After completing a level, you can go back in and view the purified state, where you can assign villagers to rebuild parts of the villages. Rebuilding each part of a village earns you rewards, and fully rebuilding one earns you another. On top of crystals, Musubi, and equipment, you can earn emma plates, sweets, and amaki scrolls. These can be viewed in the completed stage's base. While it's nice to look at the impressive amaki and finely detailed sweets, which come with an equally detailed explanation of what they are and their relevance to the culture, the emma plates provide the lore to the enemies you'll encounter in Kunitsu-Gami. Kunitsu-Gami doesn't present a dialogue-focused narrative, and although there is voice acting, it's very minimal. I realize that might be a turnoff for some, but I found this adding to its overall charm, something that I kept finding more of in my time throughout the game. The stages have their visual flourishes, but aren't all that impressive on a technical level, though the camera angle and distance does a good job of adding to the aesthetic. But I did find the character and enemy models to be stunning. And while the models already look good in game, viewing them in the emma plaque screen shows how amazingly detailed they are. They honestly look like hand-painted sculpted figures, just presented digitally. Music is probably the most liking part of the game for me. The base themes are pleasant, and the ritual themes from Purifying a Torii E gate are nicely done, but the stage themes themselves felt pretty bare. They pick up the closer you get to night, but overall it just wasn't doing much for me. Difficulty isn't easy to place for me either. It's not hard per se, but I did come across situations that felt like my options were fairly limited or constricted. There were a couple of bosses that felt a bit awkward to me in the sense that I wasn't very sure if I was approaching them the right way. Most of the levels aren't very large, and even the larger ones are essentially broken into sections, so continue points shouldn't send you too far back. For those just looking to play and beat the game, I'd expect you to come across a few spots that give you trouble, but nothing you can't work past in a couple of tries. There is also a new Game Plus mode, which might help those who want to tackle the bonus goals for each stage. It also adds new goals on top of that. Overall, I was impressed with what Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess has to offer. The way the game progresses, the brief description for levels, the compact level design, the combination of its gameplay styles, the descriptions for sweets and emma plaques, the little flourish after rebuilding a part of a village, all add to the charm that you don't really see in bigger budget games. And while the game blends in the action, strategy, and tower defense genres, it does so in meaningful ways that apply depth for all the aspects it uses from each. It's not perfect, but I found its charms far outweighed its flaws. It might not be for everyone in terms of playstyle, but it's one of my most enjoyable games this year so far. Let me know what you think below. Thanks.